So United Airlines recently placed an order for 100 wide-body Boeing 787 aircraft, which I thought was pretty interesting. I mean, they're big planes and it's 100 of them, which begs the question, what are they going to do with so many wide-bodies? The short and easy answer y'all going to see everywhere is that they're going to replace the Boeing 767 and 777s, but I don't think it's as simple as that, because United also has an order for 45 of the Airbus A350-900s and 50 of the Airbus A321XLRs as well. But I'm getting ahead of myself. On this video, I'm going to be analyzing and explaining what United is most likely going to be doing with these Boeing 787 aircraft, what will happen to the current fleet of wide-bodies, and what's likely going to happen with the Airbus A350 order. But I first want to go over United's current wide-body fleet because I think it's important to talk about before talking about their future fleet. United currently has 218 wide-body aircraft, including 37 of the Boeing 767-300ERs with an average age of almost 27 years. 24 of these aircraft are on a premium heavy hijack configuration with 167 seats in total, including 46 seats in Polaris business class that fly more on premium destinations like London Heathrow, Switzerland, and also Frankfurt, while the remaining 13 are in a more dense configuration with 199 seats that fly mostly on some of the less busy transatlantic flights and to South America, although in the summer season they tend to fly on seasonal destinations to Europe as well. United also has 16 of the Boeing 767-400ERs with 231 seats in total that fly more medium-sized European routes out of Newark and Washington. These have an average age of 21.4 years. 74 of the 777-200s. These have an average age of 23.7 years. Of these aircraft, 19 are the non-ER variant with 364 seats in total. These mostly fly on domestic flights, including flights to Hawaii. The remaining 55 are the ER variant, including 4 with a domestic configuration with 362 seats in total, while the other 51 have a less dense configuration with 264 seats, including 50 Polaris seats, and they fly more on longer haul flights. United also has 22 of the Boeing 777-300ERs with 350 seats in total, including 60 in business class. This is the highest capacity aircraft the airline has and mostly flies on busy longer haul flights from San Francisco and Newark to Asia, Australia, and Europe. But these are rather new with an average age of only 5 years, younger than even the 787-8s and 787-9s. United also has 69 Boeing 787s, including 12 of the Dash 8 variant, with 243 seats in total, mostly flying on transatlantic flights from Washington and Chicago with a few exceptions. United also has 38 of the Boeing 787-9s with 257 seats in total, including 48 in business class. This is the backbone of United's ultra-long haul operations, including United's longest flights such as Houston to Sydney and San Francisco to Singapore, but they also fly on other medium-sized routes as well. Lastly, United has 19 of the Boeing 787-10s, plus another 2 arriving later this year, with 318 seats in total, including 44 in business. These usually fly on busy transatlantic flights from Chicago, Washington, and Newark, as well as Los Angeles, Tokyo, Narita, and several transcontinental flights. Finally, United has 40 Boeing 757-200s with 176 seats, including 16 in business. They have an average age of 26 years. I know these aren't wide bodies, but they do fly some longer transatlantic flights as well as transcontinental and Hawaii flights, so I decided to count it. United also has 21 of the Boeing 757-300s with 234 seats in total, the highest capacity narrow body around. They have an average age of around 20.5 years and mostly fly on hub-to-hub routes. Now that I've gone over United's current wide-body fleet, I think it's time to talk about United's orders. United, as I mentioned before, has orders for 50 of the Airbus A321XLRs, 100 of the Boeing 787s, and 45 of the Airbus A350-900s, plus another 100 options for the Boeing 787 in case United wishes to activate them. That's about 195 planes in total if you don't include the 100 options. They are going to be used to replace the fleet of 40 757s, 53 767s, and 79 777-200s. 195 planes are going to replace 172 aircraft. Now, if you don't include the narrow bodies, then it's 145 wide bodies, replacing 127 wide bodies. Makes you realize maybe the massive wide body order isn't that crazy after all when you consider all the aging aircraft United is going to replace within the next 10 to 15 years. But also when you consider all the aircraft United is going to need if they really want to keep expanding in the following decades. And I feel like that's where the 100 options come about. But I'll talk about the 100 options later. For now, I want to talk more specifically about what these orders are going to be used for. The mindset that many people seem to have is that the Airbus A321XLR will replace the Boeing 757, the 787-8 will replace the 767-300ER, the 787-9 will replace the 767-400ER, the 787-10 will replace the 777s, and the 45 Airbus A350 orders will be cancelled. But as I mentioned before, I don't think it's as simple as that. There are too many variables and too many unknowns that United is considering. So these replacement aircraft will not necessarily be direct replacements, but rather all of United's aircraft orders will replace the entirety of United's current aging fleet. Let me explain. The obvious one is the Airbus A321XLR. The main purpose for these aircraft is to replace the Boeing 757-200s, especially on longer flights, including transatlantic flights to Europe and flights from the West Coast to Hawaii. But maybe they could also find some longer routes currently operated by the 767, similar to what American Airlines is planning, while also enabling United to add more smaller destinations in the European market, including possibly turning some seasonal flights into year-round flights. And just like the 757s, I think these aircraft will most likely have Polaris business class. It's going to be interesting to see. Now, the Boeing 787, I'm not exactly sure how United is gonna use these aircraft, but I can take some guesses. It does seem like United's 787 order is gonna include all three variants, which I think would make sense. But United hasn't specified how many of each variant they're gonna want. They're gonna decide on once each aircraft is ready to be built, so we're gonna have to wait and see what they decide. My guess is the order will be divided between around maybe 35 of the 787-9 variant, 45 of the 787-10, and 20 of the 787-8, but don't quote me on that. It's just a guess, so this may not be entirely true. Now, each of United's current aircraft has a different seating configuration. Because of this, I think that United's Boeing 787 will have a different configuration for each type to serve different purposes. So let's go over it. I think that the Boeing 787-8s will replace the 13 199-seat high-density Boeing 767-300ERs, but they may also replace some of the 767-400ERs on some routes as well. This aircraft will likely be based out of Washington, Chicago, and New York, and may be helpful in adding new routes to places like Africa and Europe. Maybe they could even fly to South America as well from Houston. Although many of these could be done with the 787-9 as well, so I predict that the future 787-8s will have a similar seating configuration as the ones that United currently has. I think this may replace around 20 older aircraft, including 13 767-300ERs and 7 of the 400ERs. So I feel like an order for around 20 of them will more or less take care of United's needs. The Boeing 787-9 will not entirely replace a single aircraft type. I think this aircraft will likely be used on new routes for the most part and added frequencies on existing markets. It will definitely help on United's ultra-long-haul expansions towards Australia, Asia, and even Africa as well, while United may also begin using them on some shorter transatlantic flights to Europe and South America that are currently flown by the 767s and 777s. Rats aren't too busy, but also not small. So this is a great aircraft to be based out of all United's hubs. In this case, I'm not really going to put a number of aircraft it will be replacing because it's uncertain and it could replace basically anything that United currently has. I feel like 35 of them may be a good amount for United. Now, I think the Boeing 787-10 will have a mix of different seating configurations to serve a different purpose each. For example, there's the current one with 44 seats in Polaris Business Class, 21 in Premium Plus, and 353 in Economy, which in my opinion could be a perfect capacity upgrade for some of the routes operated by the 767-400, replacing the remaining 9 767-400ERs. But these may also be perfect to fly on some transcontinental flights on the busier routes like Newark and Washington to Los Angeles and San Francisco, as well as longer flights to Hawaii from Houston, Denver, or Chicago. But I also feel like the 787-10 could be a great replacement for the 24 hijack configuration 767-300ERs, and you might wonder, well, isn't this aircraft too big? Well, yes, but that's exactly the point. A premium heavy aircraft that will fit up to 60 Polaris seats, more than the current 46, to help stimulate demand to land in Heathrow, because business demand is just going to keep growing in the following decades, but Heathrow's capacity will not. Hence, a larger aircraft, but it's not just an increase in business class seats, but also in premium plus and economy. allowing United to carry more passengers than they do now, and it would be great not just for flights into London from New York, Boston, or Chicago, but also other United's hubs, but also for flights to Switzerland, Frankfurt, and Hawaii, and who knows, maybe even Japan as well. But what if there was a different, more dense configuration to this aircraft, one that would have around 30 seats in domestic first class instead of Polaris, as well as around 300 in economy? That could replace the Boeing 777-200 domestic routes, including flights to Hawaii, some transcontinental, and some of the hub-to-hub flying that United currently does. I think that would be a great purpose for this aircraft type, and in this case, it would be replacing around 23 aircraft, the domestic 777s. So I'd say that in total, around 45 of the 787-10s would be great for United. So far, in total, 76 aging aircraft may be replaced by 76 of the Boeing 787s, plus another 24 that will help with further growth. So these 100 aircraft take care of United's needs at least until 2032. By that time, the 767s and domestic 777s will be retired because of their age, but there are still another 51 Boeing 777-200s that aren't that much younger and need to be replaced. So what's going to replace these aircraft? As of now, the A350. If you really think about it, United orders 100 of the 787s with 100 options. That's 200 future planes plus the 66 current 787s, which may seem like a lot, but when you consider that if you sum up the 777s and 767s, they amount for 149 planes. Now, when it comes to the Airbus A350, this order was originally meant to be delivered in 2020, and then in 2019, it was pushed back to 2027. And with the order for 177s, it was once again pushed back to the year 2030. I think this order may or may not be cancelled, but when the order for 177s was announced, I saw a lot of comments saying the A350 order is doomed with this new order, but I don't think that's the case, at least not yet. You see, right now United cannot cancel the Airbus A350 order because United still has 51 777s that still need to be replaced, and in my opinion, the A350-900s would be a perfect replacement for the 777-200ERs, especially on longer trans-Pacific flights, and also flights to Tel Aviv, India, the Middle East, and many others. Maybe even on shorter flights like the busy flights to South America and some of the heavy flights to Europe as well. And you might say, well, the 787 can replace the 777s, and sure, United has 100 options for the 787s that can later be activated, but that's still not a perfect replacement. The Boeing 787-9 has the range but not the capacity, and the 787-10 has the capacity but not the range to fly on many of United's 777 routes, especially those to Asia. But the A350 has the capacity, it has the range, and it can carry more weight than the 787 can currently carry. A perfect replacement, although the A350 can sometimes struggle in some cases like it happened with Delta, but it can still do the job very well. I guess the A350 can fly more on flights to Asia and be based mostly at San Francisco for those longer flights, but also at New York, Houston, and Chicago maybe, for flights to South America and some transatlantic flights. When it comes to seat configuration, I'd say about 50 Polaris seats would be great, similar to the current 777s. But the one thing that may put the Airbus A350 order at risk is the extended range version of the Boeing 787-10 with higher takeoff weight capabilities and an extra 1,000 kilometers in range. That may be enough to reach destinations further out like India and Japan from New York or Tel Aviv, Hong Kong, and Sydney from San Francisco. Not sure whether it's the ideal aircraft for these flights since many of these may be pushing the aircraft's range to its limits, but I figure United may still make it work. And even though the range still falls short of that of the Airbus A350-900, it still becomes a much more direct competitor to the A350, putting the current order at risk of being cancelled. Although I think the A350 order might still be worth keeping even if this aircraft is developed, and I'm starting to think it may not even be cancelled at all. Let me explain. I made 3 different outcomes as to what United will be doing to its future orders. I'm talking about the 100 options for the 787 and the 45 Airbus A350-900s, but also for the future replacement for the 777-300ER fleet. Number 1. Boeing will make the Boeing 787-10ER. United will cancel the A350 order, and they will activate all 100 options for the 787. For this, United may order at least 60 of the -10ERs to replace the 51 777-200ERs, plus more of the -9 and the -8, I guess. Number 2. United will not cancel the A350-900 order, but they will keep about 50 of the 787 options, of which some may or may not be of the 787-10ER. Number 3. United will convert the 100 787 options into firm orders, including the -10ER, and will convert the 45 Airbus A350-900 orders into the Airbus A350-1000 to replace the older 777-300ERs. Of these options, I think number 2 may be the more likely, and I'm actually starting to think that the A350 order will not be cancelled. Its range and capabilities are just just too great to be canceled in my opinion, although I think there's also a part of me that realizes that United may also want to have an all-Boeing wide-body fleet. But I mean, you never really know how it's all going to turn out. Now, when it comes to the 777-300ER replacement, I think it comes down to one or two things. Either United will order the 777X or the Airbus A350-1000. I personally would prefer to see the A350-1000 replace the 777-300ER, but realistically, I think the 777X may be more likely. But we are not likely to see an order of the type until the aircraft is certified, or maybe even years after the first commercial flight, while the A350-1000 could be an extra order, or the Airbus A350-900 could be converted to the 1000. But really, the 777-300ER will most likely not be replaced until the late 2030s at the earliest, since these 20 aircraft are much younger than the rest of 777s in comparison. Well, that was a lot, and I'm pretty sure I made things a little bit too complicated, so let me summarize a little bit for y'all. By 2030, United will have retired and replaced most, if not all, of the Boeing 767-300ERs and most of the 767-400ERs, and also many of the domestic Boeing 777-200ERs, as well as the entire 757 fleet. That's at least 134 aircraft. Now, the order for 100 Boeing 787 aircraft will be completed by 2032. The A350-900 fleet will either be cancelled or deliveries will begin by the year 2030, beginning the process of replacing the long-haul 777-200ERs, and it's likely that more of the 787s will be delivered past 2032, whether the A350 order is cancelled or not. Meanwhile, the 777-300ER will stay past 2035, but by this point, United will likely already have a replacement aircraft for the type, and not just that. But if the Boeing NMA comes out in the mid to late 2030s, I bet United's going to order it. In summary, by 2035, United's long-haul fleet will look like this. This may not exactly be how it's going to be, but ideally is how I would do it in my world. 50 Airbus A321 XLRs, most likely to be used on United's long-haul transatlantic, transcontinental, and Hawaii flights, and maybe to South America. 40 Boeing 787-8s that would probably fly on some of the less busy routes from San Francisco and Chicago, as well as some transatlantic flights from New York. At least 75 of the 787-9s, flying a medium-sized longer-haul flights to Asia, Africa, and South America, and Europe from all of United's hubs. At least 80 of the Boeing 787-10, including at least 30 on the existing configuration, which is perfect for transatlantic and transcontinental flights, as well as flights to Hawaii, South America, and even Japan. At least 24 with a premium heavy configuration for flights to London, Frankfurt, and other premium heavy routes, and at least 26 on a more dense configuration with domestic first class, flying mostly on hub-to-hub and Hawaii flights. United will still have all the 777-300ERs that will probably still be flying on long-haul trans-Pacific flights from San Francisco for the most part, but starting to introduce the replacement aircraft for them, whether it's 777X or the A350-1000, for which I'd say they would order at least 25. At the same time, the long-haul 777-200ERs will likely be on their last days, right before being retired and replaced by the Boeing 787-10ER and the A350-900, so United at this point may have at least 25 of the Boeing 787-10ERs, including pending orders, flying mostly on heavy long-haul transatlantic flights and to South America, probably in a similar configuration to the current 787-10. While United gets their 45 Airbus A350-900s, mostly for very busy trans-Pacific flights, as well as European flights from San Francisco and maybe other airports as well. Maybe by this point, Boeing would also have their Boeing NMA in the works, and you better believe that United is going to order at least 60 of them to fly on transcontinental flights, but also to replace the older 787s, which by that point will be over 20 years old. And of course, since it's sort of the middle ground between the 787 and the Airbus A321neo, it may definitely be a great aircraft for United to have, in my opinion. In total, this is about 220 of the Boeing 787. This equals to at least 285 aircraft, including 777-300ERs and A350s, but not including any replacement for the 777-300ER or the Boeing NMA just yet. So maybe it could be up to at least 300 wide-body aircraft by 2035. I'm not entirely sure exactly how United's fleet is going to be by 2035, or actually not even next year or even next week, but I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing what they do with their fleet in the coming decades. It's definitely looking like a great future ahead of United Airlines in my opinion. It was fun to analyze and speculate about the future of United's wide-body fleet, so let me know what y'all think about my ideas. Thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If y'all got any questions, comments, feedback, or any suggestions, y'all let me know. That's all I got to say, and I'll see y'all later.